Now, lifeadministration.com presents the Life Administration Podcast. Here are your hosts, Leslie Loftus and Ryan Taylor.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Life Administration Podcast, Episode 1. No, just kidding. It's not our first
episode intro.
Episode intro, yes.
Reboot. The intro revisited.
Yes, the intro revisited. Very good. Very good.
I knew it would come to me.
Yeah. So I am Ryan Taylor, and this is Leslie Loftus.
Hello, everyone.
And we are just sort of revisiting some things. So I think it's safe to say that when we started this podcast, we really had no idea what we were getting into.
Right. And it was, by the way, it was almost a year. It was like a year next week.
Yep.
Because
that we recorded for the first one.
We recorded for the first time. My kids were all at various camps. Of course, this year they're all home because everything's been canceled. We're revisiting the intro in 2020. And we didn't actually start posting episodes for a while because we had to...
Like 20 weeks, basically.
Right. Well, we had a lot to learn about editing and stuff like that. We made things a little more complicated than we needed to.
Equipment.
Yes, exactly. There's actually an episode about that. I think I want to say it's like 7 or 8, somewhere in there, about things that we've learned about podcasting.
Podcasting perseverance.
That's
I remember it well.
Exactly. Yes, you do, because you were very frustrated.
Yeah.
But by the time we started posting episodes, and we were about 12 live episodes in, I was like, I really wish we could redo the intro because, as you start something, you expect it to go one way, and a lot of the things do happen exactly as. Some things happen a little differently, and some things work a little better than others. I can introduce the whole podcast better now than I could then, and so we're revisiting the intro for our first anniversary.
I think what's happened is like you said, is like it starts to take a life of its own, right? And all of a sudden, in those first episodes too, we're really tight. Maybe the sound isn't as good. I haven't figured out like the filter for the air conditioning, and so
He's got that figured out now.
Yeah, so maybe there's some things in there that aren't up to the level that we have them now,
right?
That you listen to, and it sounds like a nice radio broadcast. We got a nice camera set up now that we use. So
we've recently tweaked our mics.
Yeah, we tweaked our mics. So we'll probably next year come back and do the same thing, right? Honestly,
yeah. There's actually a few episodes that we kind of want to do this too, because we also feel like we've gotten better over time at teaching things.
Yes.
You do it more often, you get practice. That's a very life administration kind of theme. These practical skills, you practice them, you get better at them.
Yeah. We've had more at bats.
Yes.
We've had more at bats. So we're going to give a quick revisit about who we are and what are we even trying to accomplish here. Right.
Exactly.
Okay. So why don't you go first? You carry the load in our episodes most of the time. So who are you? Why should people listen to you? What are we trying to do here?
You reversed my script here.
You
did.
I did.
See?
I'm sneaky that way. We're just
going to do this. Okay. So I have been wanting to do something I originally 20 years ago, I thought I would write a book about life administration because I feel like it's not taught anymore. And life administration is all those, cups of coffee and getting clean socks and having your bills paid and getting the doctor's appointments, all of that stuff that should work in background so that you can do everything else that you're called to do, right? And too often we think of it, that's easy stuff. So we think, since it's simple, it must be easy and it must be quick. And it's sometimes easy after practice, and it's rarely quick.
I was just going to say.
It takes up tons of time. It's a time sponge.
Yeah, it's never quick.
Right. Even once you know how to do it, you get the most time savings out of kind of a rhythm and just having it work as much as possible in background for you, which is what we talk about in this show. So, my name is Leslie Loftus, and I lawyer by training. I'm a mother of 4, ran multiple households in 2 different continents. When I was a lawyer, I tended to doing administration. Like I quickly went in-house so that I was managing cases rather than actually trying cases myself. Just everything about my work history has lended itself to admin management.
Yeah.
Right. So I just have a lot of history, lots of mistakes under my belt too. Tons. Yeah. I mean, mistakes are a great teacher. So I've had an idea to do this since I was pregnant with my first child, and he is now 16. So, like I said, originally I was thinking I would write a book about this kind of stuff, but now it's not,
Excuse me.
Especially when I'm kind of aiming at the 25 and under set, because y'all haven't set up your lives yet. You haven't set up all the administration. It's really easy for me to teach you how to do it from the start. Now, that is not to say we have a lot of stuff that we cover about, okay, so you're 35 and you already have an established household. How do you go back and how do you retrofit some of that stuff in? Those are, two different. But if I'm sort of aiming for the younger, haven't done it yet and want to set it up from scratch, book wouldn't it? So about 4 years ago, we came up with the idea for podcasts, and then it's taken us various times to find the time for it, get the tech for it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I have the worst tickle in my throat
in
the history of the world, and I have no water. It's absolutely terrible.
Oh, goodness.
That's right.
And I usually have a cup here for you, but you're like, no, I'm just fine.
I'm good.
I don't need it.
You know what? I don't know. We're going to be fine. Okay, so my name is Ryan Talon, and I have had this life in the corporate world.
Right.
And my biggest area of success was in operations. And so that sort of lends itself to what we're talking about here. And my job was making sure that whoever the vision caster was, that I would take the vision and say, okay, this is how we execute it.
Right. So this step needs to be done. This step needs to be done.
Okay. We want to do this wonderful, great new project. Cool. Go give it to Ryan, and then we'll figure out how we're going to do it. Right. So that was basically my job. So I have a really good way of sort of seeing things unfold, understanding like we have to go here, then we have to go here, then we have to go here, then we have to go here. And so that's like my background in there. And then from that, I took all of that and became an entrepreneur, and I run my own music business, and I do this with you.
Right. That's actually how we met.
Yes. Yeah. We that's right. I'm teaching your kids. It's like crazy. It's unbelievable.
And all of a sudden, as things started to unfold, we realized, well, I was looking for a producer because I wanted to get into podcasting. Well, and he has some tech background as well. Everything, it took a while to unfold.
But we're here now. We're here now. We're 31 episodes deep. So
yes,
it's been awesome. It's been such a cool journey. And, to everyone that listens, like, thank you for coming and hanging out with us and doing all this with us. It's been really, really cool. And I've learned a lot of things. I think we'll continue to learn a lot of things. And I'm just, I'm excited to see where we go from here for sure. But I want to focus on what are we trying to accomplish here, right? Like what is life admin? And you said it's the clean socks, it's the cups of coffee. And I think that is absolutely correct. But life administration because now I have some experience. When we did this first episode, I really had no idea what we were getting into.
Part of his job at the beginning was because I have a tendency to kind of fly off and topic tangents, right?
Yep.
And so part of my producer is to keep me on topic.
Stay on target.
Right, stay on target. And as a matter of fact, every once in a while you'll hear him tell me to stay on target.
Yep.
But also he is mid-30s, married, one young child. And he'd just kind of been muddling through on life. Because when you're single, post-college, frankly, you can just muddle through on life administration. You can get it done in a pinch when you need to because you don't have that much of it yet. It's when you're at his stage, married, house, one child, thinking another dog, and now starting to own business, all of a sudden it gets, oh my gosh, how many? So as we started doing these episodes, and at the time we had a cameraman, Sean, his longtime best friend, they were jumping in. They were doing it.
We're guinea pigs.
Right. So we were teaching the basics of life administration, and they were going home and they were doing it. And so we actually have don't know what episode number it is either, but we have a great episode of How's It Going? And it's me interviewing the two of them they've been doing it now for 3 or 4 months. How's the jumpstart of life administration going when you aren't the new household that's starting from scratch?
Yeah. And I think what I've really learned in that, and I think also you think to yourself, dude, I'm 36. I don't really need this, right? But what you don't know that there's a better way. you don't know what you don't know,
right? You don't know how much time you can save once you have some basic household management systems in place,
right? And once you start, putting your life together in a way that is duplicatable. Right. So like your Monday can sort of look like your Tuesday, right? Like you're not doing the same things, but you have these processes in place. You'll hear us talk about the word rhythm or cadence a lot,
right?
That you, at this time you do this, at this time you do this. And with this area of your house is where this happens, right? You're always sort of doing these cadences, and that your time just starts to like really free up.
You don't realize how much time you were spending thinking about each of those things. My favorite is the school uniform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
When you don't have a school uniform, you have to get up every day, or even if you're proactive and you pick it out the night before, you have to pick out a whole uniform. How much time do you save when you have a school uniform and all you really need to figure out is whether or not the gold jumper is clean?
Right. Right.
Because you know what you're wearing. Like, so every day you're saving 5 to 10 minutes. Life administration done properly works kind of like that.
Here's how I know that I needed this. There is something different about me now today than there was a year ago. And that is, I don't have these lingering thoughts of, did I do this? Did I pay that? Do I need to go get whatever? And there are these things, you said, you just touched on it, like these things that you think about, but you don't realize how often you're thinking about them and how much honest to God joy is stolen from you because you don't have your ducks in a row.
Because you're running through your mental to-do list.
Right. All the time. You're always running through it. And so you're
dreaming about it.
Yeah.
You're stressing about it. Yeah.
You're missing sort of, intimate conversations with your spouse or something with your kids or a great moment with your friends, right? Exactly. Right. And so you're not completely present. And I would say, and I can remember when we were talking about Making a Beautiful Home episode, that to me, like you get this anxiety from it, that you're always sort of thinking about it. You're never quite present in the moment. And it's hard to sort of shake that, And so the design of this podcast, it's not to solve the world's problems. No. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to help solve your problems. You know what I mean? Like it's a very personal thing that goes on here. And you look at the title and you think, well, like life administration, whoop-de-doo, but you have no idea how important it is for you to be able to execute some of these things that we talk about.
Our surprise favorite episode at this point, Insurance 101.
Unbelievable.
Totally dry. We're talking about whole life, term life, sometimes using an investment, sometimes not, the pain of making a will and mortality. And it's a really dry episode.
And it blew up.
It blew up because lots of people want to know how life insurance works.
Yep. Absolutely.
And by the way, I'm a daughter of a longtime insurance agent. So
maybe that had something to do with it.
That had some, I don't know. Anyway, but we know about some of this stuff. We can help you.
Yep. And I think, you put it in the show notes. I think you put it beautifully. It shouldn't steal our attention from living.
Right.
Right. Ultimately is what we're trying to do, is just get that nitty gritty stuff done, get it out of the way,
and get it mostly working in background for you.
Yeah. And I think
you don't have to think about it all the freaking day.
And I think we joked about it, that it takes a lot of time. Life admin takes a lot of time, and it does take a lot of time, but
to set up. Once it's set up, it's only your fault if it goes sideways. Mm-hmm. And that comes in later. I have the things that you're going to hear a lot.
Yeah.
You will hear a ton of, whether it's setting up your contacts list, your calendars, your to-do lists, cleaning out your email boxes, whatever. The time that you need to sink in to get them right at the beginning, it's painful.
Yeah.
It's frustrating and it's long and oh my gosh, am I ever going to, but once you've got it, once you've set it up and you have developed the habit to maintain, we're not talking about the Martha Stewart perfect tools for the perfect diet. We're not into letting the perfect get in the way of the good. This is not about, if you want to use a bullet journal, great. Those are or hand organizers. But I'm not talking about making a beautiful one. This is not the quick life hack that, oh gosh, you just do this for 15 minutes and then, set that on autopilot and it works. This is the long-term weight loss. Think about weight loss. So when people, let's say you need to lose weight, and there's all sorts of fad diet. You could do the grapefruit diet, you could do the keto diet, you could do all this sort of stuff, and you can lose some weight really quickly. But as soon as you go off the diet, everybody knows somebody who's gone through this, and then they go off the diet, and then they end up gaining the weight back, often more than they had before. Okay, and doctors will tell you constantly, the only way to really get the weight off and keep it off is to make incremental lifestyle changes over the course of a year or so to be healthier in general. And that's the kind of life those are the kind of things that we're teaching here. We're teaching those kind of incremental lifestyle changes that are going to pay you dividends, sometimes literal dividends, later on.
Yeah. So why are we teaching this? Where in the world, what happened where we could, people came equipped with these skills at some point in life. And then what happened, Leslie?
Okay. I have there's a lot of history under this one, but essentially, you used to have shop classes and home ec classes, and, you would learn those things. You would learn these things in classes like that. You did a lot more chores and stuff at home. There was a lot more in your life as you grew up that you were taught this stuff. Your elders taught it to you. Your teachers taught it to you. Okay. Somewhere, we'll call it mid-60s, somewhere in time, it became, oh gosh, well, all of that is just crap work. All of that's crap. As a matter of fact, it's women's work. It's crap work. How to get the clothes ironed out. It's just, I don't want to curse. It's crap work.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Everybody's coughing today. It's like, let's do this episode fresh. And now you're coughing, I'm coughing. Anyway.
Right. And as Betty Friedan put it, the world is not as big as a baked potato, So the idea that anybody was spinning themselves up about cooking dinner or vacuuming the floors was just, this is all simple, easy stuff. Just don't get worked up about it. And goodness gracious, find somebody else to do. Okay. We started devaluing the teaching of it. Home ec classes, shop classes, they leave the schools. The elders are no longer around as much to teach that stuff. And then we start, getting kids to focus more on building their college resumes than anything else. And suddenly they don't have time. Oh, goodness. And then after a little while, when you have a little bit of time of kids don't know how to do it, and we're not in the habit of teaching kids how to do it. And adults are taxed for time because they have gotten much busier in this new world. It's one of the things you have to power through in life administration, especially if you have kids, is the idea that it'll just be faster if I do it myself. Yes, the first time that is absolutely and completely true. In the long run, it's much better if you go ahead and teach the people in your house. If you learn the skill yourself, if you teach the people in the household how to do it, because now you suddenly have 5 people doing what you were trying to just plow through and do yourself, right? So we stopped. People lost the knowledge about how to do some of these simple tasks. Then you throw in, my phone's over there. You throw in the innovation of phones. And my mother used to keep a black book, not that kind of black book, but it was a black address book, and so that's how she kept it. And she had a calendar that was on, on her desk. And so she would write, and there were notes all over it and cross out, and there were some codes in it and stuff like that. And each year she would get a new one. And if she ever wanted, she would always have to transfer the dates from one year. So it would take her a couple of hours each time she was doing the transfer. She never actually traded in the black address book. You just kind of added pages and you stuck Post-it notes in it when Post-its came around and stuff. But she had a rhythm of maintaining her contacts list, her calendars list. Now it was kind of the only, so she could understand it, but still, there was still a rhythm to it. Now our phones save everything. They kind of save it automatically. We've lost those skills as well. And then we want to find an app that'll do the cleanup. And then the apps always end up making a bigger mess. Not always, maybe, but often. I've certainly tried that cheat sheet myself, and it doesn't work. We've lost all the skills, and then all of a sudden we're busier. We have more ability because there's a whole lot of power in those devices there. We have more ability, and we just can't get on top of the crap, which is how you have some people like Marie Kondo coming in. Like, you need to clean this up. You need to get rid of this, because we never knew how to streamline as we went along.
Yeah.
And we got out over our skis, and we have to have somebody to come teach us and pull us back.
Yeah. And it's, and you guys I'm sure have heard me talk about my sister-in-law, Allison. This, she's always, whenever like I'm thinking about content, she's always the person that I'm like directing
She's
it
about
towards.
20, so yeah. She's kind of our
target demographic.
Yeah.
You know what and so like I'll bounce things off of her and just like, but like even the other day, where she's staying with us right now, but like the toilet was running, and I was like, can you shut the toilet off? And she had no idea how to shut the water off on a toilet. I mean, this is like, like the most basic of basic sort of bathroom maintenance kind of thing. Right. And I was like, how, in my mind, and Allison, I love you, but in my mind, I'm thinking, how in the world do you not know this? It's just crazy to me.
Nobody's taught her.
No one's taught her, right? Because, and I think what you just said there is so important about the devaluing of this knowledge. And honestly, like, these are the things that make the world sort of go round, right? In your own personal world, your own household, and that sort of stuff. If you let this stuff spin out of control, I touched on it earlier, it will drown you. And then the thing about it is,
because it's not rocket science, we don't appreciate it at all.
Yeah.
And we think, oh no, I can just do that later. I can, I can sort it out later. It's actually very time consuming, and it's practical skills that need practice.
Yeah. Matter of fact, one of the things that we talk about is the calendar and the to-do lists and all that sort of stuff. And so finally, right? I mean, my wife, and there are times where I'll sort of like, be like, but let me tell you something, how awesome that she is that she went through and did a ton of research about different calendars, what they do, how they work, what calendars do they sync with, what do they not sync with. And she ended up on this one called Cozy. And
I used that one early on myself.
Right. And so we've adopted it, and I'm telling you, it has been a game changer. It took days for her to set all of that stuff up. Literal days.
Yep.
Stressed her out, was tough, the whole deal. But I'm telling you, our life is much more of it. The double trips to the grocery store are almost non-existent.
Right, much less the, oh, I already got the pickles.
Right.
And now you end up with the 2 jars of pickles, and, and when you do that with a couple of items and you're starting to bust your grocery budget,
Yep. I essentially work 3 jobs, right? And so my schedule can shift on a moment's notice between teaching, doing stuff at church, podcasting and editing, not all of these things always go smoothly, right? So sometimes I'll say, hey, I think this is going to take 2 hours, but it might take 4.
Right.
Conversely, it might take 30 minutes sometimes. You just never know. But she has been able to sort of set us up on our days and our rhythms so efficiently now. Like, and I can remember.
Cozy is a cloud-based calendar.
Yeah.
So that basically they can tether their calendars to each, so she can see what he's doing in real time.
Yep.
He can see what she's doing in real time, and they can make changes that will then also show up in real time. So all of a sudden, if you got out and now you're 30 minutes, oh, well then cool. Can you do the grocery store? Because I can do then this other thing. It's amazing when you can cut out the phone call and you can cut out the,
hey, on the drive home, go to the grocery store. The list is in Cozy. Boom. Yes. There it is. Because I've done 30 minutes early. No problem. Anyway, so I just say all that to say, because I want to be in the business of adding value to that.
Yes.
I want to be in the business of shining the light on that, because to me, these are the things that help you run your life effectively and smoothly. And like it sounds so sort of pie in the sky, but these are the things that let you go after your dreams. You know what I mean?
They free up so much time.
Yep.
And honestly, they free up a bit of money too. Because one of the first, we're getting ready to talk about some of our intro episodes here. But one of the first one is about money.
Yes.
And just how to set up your budget. And so you can actually set some savings, et cetera. So long term, you'll have more time. You'll have more emotional bandwidth, because when you're constantly running through your to-dos list, it's amazing how much, let's say your stress level, sorry for the people that are listening, I'm holding up my glass of water. Your stress level is like a glass, and and eventually you fill it up with enough water and it bubbles over. Well, all of those times that you're kind of thinking through the little to-do list and the little reminders in your head because you don't have a system for it, it just puts a couple of drip, and then something big happens and you overflow.
Splash. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. 100%. Okay. So hopefully y'all have heard our hearts on that. You sort of understand what we're trying to accomplish. It's the nitty gritty, the cups of coffee, the socks, everything has its place. Do the right thing at the right time and your life will be easier podcast.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to talk about some of our core episodes, some of the first ones that we did that we think are worth going back and giving a listen to. And also, and we talked about it earlier, we might kind of go back and do some tweaking and things, just like this one.
One, we feel like we've gotten the technical stuff better.
Yep.
Two, we feel like we've done a little bit better job of teaching. So we might do a refresh on a couple of those background episodes as well.
It's funny. I'm looking at this list and the first one is making a life plan. And I think to myself, boy, I would love actually to go back and do this over again. Only because I've sort of lived through this first year of making a life plan. And oh my goodness, lo and behold, my life is completely different a year ago than it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like where I am today, if you had said, this is what it's going to look like a year from now.
It was brand new to you then. Yeah. Like as we were sitting here and talking about it, and you see the notes that I've put up for our, we're loosely scripted here.
Yeah.
And you see the notes that I've put up for the show. That's kind of the first time that you were going through some of that stuff. So a little background. First of all, I came up with about 15 or so episode topics of stuff that I thought needed to be first episode kind of material, basic, foundational,
core competencies.
Core competencies. Thank you. Very good. And then Ryan shopped them around to his 20-year-old sister-in-law and a couple of friends. And I shopped them around to a few 20-somethings that I know. And we kind of let them vote on. Now, and I did
kind of curate the list a little bit. Yeah,
I did preempt a little bit. Like one of them, I insisted making a life plan actually didn't score as high amongst some, but I went ahead and said, no.
That's because you don't know.
Right. That's because you don't know.
Yep.
Precisely. So I pulled rank on that one. I was like, this episode is the Rosetta Stone for the show, because you kind of every life needs a roadmap. It just needs Now, when we talk in that episodes, we're going to talk about Goldilocks plans. Not too hard, not too soft, not too tight, not too vague. This is not, I want to have, my degree by 22 and be married by 24. This is not that kind of type life plan. But anyway, listen to that episode and we can go into the details there. But so making a life plan was one of them that I insisted on it. We build off of it in all sorts of episodes. It comes up often.
Yep.
In fact, we can use buildings. Think of it, when you're building a framework for a building, well, you build the framework, and the higher you take the building, skyscrapers have to have some give in them. So the further out you're looking, you need a little bit of give, and otherwise it's too brittle and it will crumble.
Right. So. And what'll happen too, and I've seen it happen more often than not, is you put your life plan together and then you're on step 2 or 3.
And something goes sideways and you're like, oh.
And that's it. Right. And now you're just sort of lost in the wilderness, right? You're just kind of like floating out there trying to figure out what the next step is.
Right. And then life is happening to you instead of you happening to life.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
again, we will get into that in that episode.
Absolutely.
The next one turned out to be the number one request, and it was kind of a surprise to us, but it was Money 101.
Yes.
So, making a household budget, coming up with savings. We go through, honestly, I shouldn't have been that surprised because when I'd been planning this podcast, not podcast, I'd been planning this teaching for a while. I had recently come to the realization that I wanted to do a podcast. And so this is about 2 years ago. And so two things happened. One, there's an article in the Wall Street Journal. It's a solicited letter to the editor. They were doing some sort of anyway, it's from a college kid, I think at Texas A&M even. And they're like, they were a business administration major, something like that. And he's like, I know all about multi-billion-dollar deals. I could probably do one of those now, or at least competently do that. Don't know how to do a household budget. Nobody has ever taught me how to do. I can work in millions and billions of dollars. I can't work in hundreds of dollars.
Right.
In my own household. So one, I was like, okay. Because I had about 5 irons in the fire at the time. And I'm like, okay, I think that one needs to be a priority. And then later I was listening to a favorite podcast of mine, and the host is going through that very typical things millennials don't know sort of stuff. And it was kind of a millennials behaving badly or behaving off. And she was actually coming to their defense by saying, look, because they don't know how to do some of this communication and etiquette stuff.
Right.
Which is completely true. And then she goes off. I'm like, man, I don't know who's going to teach it to him. And that was kind of.
And that was it.
That was it.
And that was it. I remember you telling me that day. It was like, and that's when they stopped.
Okay, and that's when I decided that this was the priority. So I shouldn't have all been surprised when Money 101 came up as the one that everybody wanted to, because it was almost universal amongst the people that we polled that they wanted to know how to make a household budget.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
So we did.
Yep, and we did. Then we had
some mini casts on that one too. So
yeah, we do.
We get into the nitty gritty of how to make.
That's over the shoulder, line item by line item, using different types of apps and
that
programs.
was also the one with my crazy. I had him.
Okay.
And a male cameraman, Sean. They are wonderful. The shot looks great. Drunk Mockingbird.
I thought that's what you were going for.
There's no way that's what I was going for.
I thought maybe you were doing like the flip or something.
I didn't actually look at it until it posted, and I'm just like, what is going on with my hair, and why did nobody tell me? So anyway, fine, guys.
So basic household management was the next episode that we really started to dig into. Again, it's just another building block. This is all the things that happen inside of your house that help you sort of prepare the way.
Right.
This
one's about setting up zones in your home, different routines, weekly routines, monthly routines, some very basic stuff about to-do lists and calendars. And it's kind of self-descripted, rather boring, but it is basic household management.
Yeah. And this is one of those things that, and we've talked about it before. You can get someone to do X. You can get someone to do this, right?
And a matter of fact, that's the go-to advice. Oh, goodness gracious. Just hire somebody to do that.
Right. Which I would refer back to your Money 101 episode and say, okay,
but one, you need the funds to do that.
Yeah.
And two, to actually do that well, you need to have done it yourself.
Right.
So, story of the 3 chefs. So, when I graduated from college, I actually worked on cruise ships. And I was a stewardess, and I mostly worked in as a waitress in the dining room. Okay, and this was a smaller crowd. We're not talking like Disney Cruise or anything, not one of the big giant ones. This is a much smaller one. Anyway, during my tenure, we had 3 chefs go through, and one of them has stuck with me for a very long time because when he first got on the ship, I found out, or when he was first hired, he spent like 2 nights washing the dishes. He got up for a week with the pastry chef at 4 a.m. He knew how everything in the kitchen worked. He was an excellent leader. He could give us advice. He could troubleshoot anything. The kitchen ran so smoothly when he was in charge. He was by far the most relaxed of the chefs. It was a pleasure to work for him. I learned a ton from him, and we all had so much more respect for him because, well, he knew how to do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I have one other story from a long time ago. So we're in London. My children are in preschool, and I'm, sitting around with 10 mothers or something like, and somebody's talking. They're very vexed with their house cleaner because it was taking her like an hour and a half to unload the dishes. And how in the world can it take an hour and a half to? Have you ever tried to unload the dishes with a 1.5-year-old on the foot, much less 2?
Right.
I know exactly how it was taking an hour and a half to unload the dishes, but I'm pretty sure that this lady had never actually. She might not have ever unloaded the dishes,
right.
period, much less with young children underfoot. If you are going to hire a staff to rival Downton Abbey, you kind of need to know how to do this.
Yeah, you do. You got to know. And also it sets a clear expectation. If you are hiring someone, it sets the expectation of this is what I expect. This is what it looks like when I do it. Right. And it needs to at least be this good. Right. That sort of thing.
Right. And it also says that you're not hiring somebody because you're too good to do. Right. Okay. There's an attitude shift. Sometimes it's, oh my gosh, that's crap work. I'm just going to hire somebody else to do it because it's beneath me. No. You're hiring somebody else to do it because it's efficient and you can afford to, and there's all sorts of things going on, but mostly because it's an efficient way to specialize time. You are not hiring somebody else to do it because it's crap work and you are too precious to do it. And that person is no, just a total attitude adjustment there. So, yeah.
Making a Beautiful Home.
This was another surprise one that was kind of high up there. Again, it probably shouldn't have surprised me that much. For one thing, in this episode, we were not talking about aesthetics.
No.
This is not about, you think mid-century modern is pretty, and I think, Tudor
whatever is pretty.
Right, exactly. It's not necessarily about that. I mean, that does come into it some, but this is all of the things behind the scenes. All of the things, the stuff that makes Marie Kondo a big hit, because she's teaching people how to kind of get control of the stuff that got out of control. Beautiful in the sense of being calm, being peaceful, being welcoming, being able to do what you want the home to do.
Yeah.
So if you want to entertain a lot, making sure that you can set it up so that it's welcoming for that kind of entertaining. It's a slightly different than household management. It's not as dry.
No. So, and to me, it's the ability to have people in your home at any given time. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I need to throw a party, but it's your house is never so out of control that you think, oh my gosh, whoever's coming over and I don't want them to see the house look like this, right? There's that sort of piece of it too. But there is this there. And what I specifically remember from this episode talking about is your mental well-being. When you walk into a room that is welcoming, that it's warm, that it's comforting, you can breathe versus when you walk into a room and it's a hot mess.
Right. And you clench because that needs to be done.
We talked about the drip, 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 drip. A room like that is like drip, 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 drip. Like it's coming at you hot. Right. So
especially since you see it multiple times a day.
And so like, there's this thing, right? And here's my example right now, because there's something that I'm battling at my house right now is that I think I might even talked about it before, but when you pull up into my driveway, there's this maybe 3x3 foot part of my yard that I cannot get grass to grow. And every time I drive up, I see it and I get ticked.
Still there.
Right. Just like the way the sun hits it. I don't know. And maybe we put some stones there. That didn't do it for me. Anyway, I haven't solved the issue yet, but
it's bugging you.
Every time I pull up, I see that patch of non-grass and I just think, what are we going to do? And then I always think of someone coming into my house for the first time. They're going to see this big bald spot right in my walkway. And that just sets the tone for the rest of my house. You know, I don't want that. I mean, honestly, what needs to happen is I got to go buy some patches of grass and put it in there and hopefully it sticks. And if it doesn't, you know, figure out something else, but I got to do something. And so that's just a representation of what that whole episode is about, is not letting those little things kind of spin out of control. Next, secrets to staying married, baby.
Oh boy. This was our first double episode, right?
Yeah, it was our first two-parter.
Because remember, at this time, Ryan was still totally new to most of the life administration part, except for
this. I know how to be married.
Yes, exactly. And so we were again surprised that one, I think that was number 2 on the list of what everybody wanted to hear. And, you know, thinking back or thinking about it after a bit, we were like, well, you know, there's just not as many role models. Like, we could see how there might be a bunch of young people that are like, I'd really like to know that bit because frankly, I've not seen it. I don't know exactly how it's done. So, that episode became a double header because we had lots and which is kind of funny considering that we kind of came up with sort of one overarching.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about you. That's kind of
right. It's not about you.
Yeah.
You know what? This episode or these episodes, it's almost like to give a synopsis or a quick hit. It's almost impossible. It's like secrets. I would say this is that you need to, when you listen to those episodes, you got to take your spouse out of the equation.
Right.
Being a good marriage partner is all about you, not about them. It's not about what they do. It's not about what they do wrong. It's about you and how you take things and how you frame things. And do you escalate? Do you work to solve? Do you consider them a teammate? Like, you've heard all of these sort of terms before, but I think in this episode, we really break it down when we say, well, you know, I just don't feel like she's on my team. It's like, well, what does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? What does a teammate actually mean? And just because if she calls you out, that doesn't mean she's not on your team. That's not.
And then we ended up getting a little more meta on it. You need to worry more about the kind of spouse you are than the one you have.
Yeah,
stop worrying about the one you have so much. Worry about whether or not you're meeting. You're being the spouse that you need to be.
Those are great 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think those are great 2 episodes. And we got actually some really nice feedback about those 2 episodes. We even heard a little bit of, it changed a few. It changed a few lives. From from what we heard. We're not going to say any more.
No, of course not. But it was very empowering to do that, to do those episodes. Planning for babies. We're going to move it along a little bit.
Right. I was very excited that this one came up as the one that people wanted to hear because especially since we were kind of heavy on girls that we were surveying, because it said they knew that they needed to do some planning, that it's not the kind of thing that you can just snap your fingers sooner or later. And, right. So I was really enthused to see that. And so we did that episode too. And I think that one went pretty well.
And
as you notice, these are all
they build upon
planning.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
And I have given so many new dads advice out of this episode. And
excellent.
And the thing that sticks with me is, don't go buy a bunch of stuff. Like, you think you need all the things.
No.
And I'm telling you, for the first 8 weeks, everything you need comes home from the hospital.
Right.
You got a car seat and a crib at home. You're good. You're good, right?
Yeah, you need some diapers. You need some onesies. But we're talking about the basic stuff.
Sure.
You don't need white nut warmers. You don't need there's so much stuff. Oh, matter of fact, while I was doing the PDFs, because I finally put the PDF together for, here's your basic shopping list for prepping for a baby. And of course, as I'm pulling this up, I come up with lots of them on Google. Gosh, there's just so much stuff that people tell you need that you so don't.
One of my friends.
I mean, if you want it, great. I mean, if you want the Pretty Moses backs or you want the mobile, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Don't need it.
One of my friends right now, his wife is pregnant, and I maybe like 3 months ago gave him that advice. And he's like, oh man, I don't know if she's going to go. I'm like, just trust me on this, right? Just let's just see what happens after 4 weeks, and we'll see what we really need. and she finally did buy into it. You know what I mean? So like they're living that free life right now, just waiting to see what happens, and wait till the baby shower too. You get a lot of stuff there. That
you get a ton of stuff in the baby shower, and also you get a ton of stuff from experience.
Yeah.
Mom. But the biggest thing that I think came out of that episode was too often we prepare for delivery day.
Right.
We spend a whole lot of time preparing for delivery day. And even if it goes really long, 24 hours, my kids are 16, 14, and 2 12-year-olds. Trust me, the whole like baby care and child care and so much longer.
Yeah.
So, and I think sometimes it came up in another episode, make that mistake with weddings and stuff sometimes too. Plan for the wedding, but not the relationship.
Yeah. Whoops. Yeah. Right. Whoops. Yeah. Kids are resilient. That's what you'll learn. As you won't mess them up too bad. Don't worry about it. Okay. So let's go and we're going to fire through these because we're at 45 minutes. Shocking.
Oh, we are? Oh,
yep.
Goodness gracious.
I never thought we'd go this long, but how many times have you heard us say that? So we're going to zip through these because these are the things that you're going to hear a lot.
Right.
We're going to say these things often. So go ahead.
Life has learning curves. Like we talked about earlier, people think that simple means quick and therefore it means easy. Nope. These are skills. They require some practice, not only to execute them, but then some habits to keep them going. This takes some time. Also remember when you're teaching kids that is a learning curve as well. And they won't ever learn if they're not given the opportunity to try. It's more time intensive at the beginning, but.
And I would even say when you talk to your spouse, if you're having them try to do something that maybe you normally do, and you think to yourself, I could just do this quick, just take the time. Yeah. Just take the time, explain it.
Get over I could do it faster myself.
That's just that you need to have a mindset shift there. There needs to be a paradigm change. Like you can't do that because you're not going to save yourself any time. Nope. And you're carrying the burden as much as you possibly can when you need to give that to some other folks.
Another big one, setup is time intensive. All of this stuff takes time to get going. As we said, you're about a year in and now you're kind of saying it and you're all on board. Yes, in some of the first episodes, we're like, give yourself a year of really setting up these systems and a year of practicing them and modifying them because they're going to work a little bit differently for you than they do for me.
Yep.
I'm kind of giving you the framework and then, you go in and figure the details based upon your own life. Give yourself a year to get, hello, there you go. You're done.
Hey, so I'll tell you one of the things that we talk about in the, basic household management, and we talk about managing to-do lists and stuff. I just know what to do now. Right. I don't even need the to-do list. Right. I just know at nighttime, okay, grass has been watered, dog's been taken care of, coffee's made for the morning, right? Is there anything in the laundry? Where are the dishes? Like, it's like, I don't have to go, but at first
you needed the to-do list.
I needed to go up and look. Right. It took forever.
Yep.
Now it's much faster, much faster. Okay. Tasks take time. You had to write it that way, didn't you? My goodness.
And
I stopped at the next T. Yeah. I was like, nope.
24 hours and 7 days a week is all any of us get. So again, just because it's easy doesn't mean it's simple, and doesn't mean it doesn't take a lot of time. So just think about your basic grocery trip. You're thinking, I can just run in and it takes me 5 minutes or 10 minutes to go in and get that thing and check out. Yes, but then you've got to drive there. You've got to drive back. You've got to unload. So your random grocery trip that you're thinking because you're in the store for an hour, you're thinking only takes you an hour, but all in, you're actually in for 3 hours, which, by the way, if you have children at preschool that are just going from 9 to noon, one task. Right. You can get one major life administration task done while your children are in preschool in the morning or the afternoon.
Yeah.
And that's just, you're like, I've got 3 hours to myself. Ooh, life administration can eat that up right away.
Yeah. And one of the things I always tell my life is, I tell my wife is
she is your life.
She is my life. Oh. Lauren, I love you, baby. I'll take two things. Mm-hmm. I will do 2 major things a day. I will not get 3 done. If you put more on the list, they're not getting done. Right. Like it's 2, right? Some days it's only 1. If I'm working like today, I start teaching at 10, I'll get home somewhere after 6. Like I can do one thing today. Right. So one of the things that I hope people learn is don't schedule just to schedule. When you put the thing on the list doesn't mean that it got done. You feel good that you put it on a list, but ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to see that list over and over and you're thinking, well, I didn't get to this. I didn't get to that.
Right.
And you sort of have like analysis paralysis, or what do I do now? What do I do with it? What should I do? And you just sort of do nothing. Right.
Right.
One or two things, do it with excellence, move on.
Right.
Blending the old, the new. What should we be looking for here?
There's a lot of talk about how, these devices, computers and tablets, and oh my gosh, they're horrible. They're horrible. And then at the same time, you have younger people talking, oh, well, the older people don't know. I mean, this has been going on since the beginning of time, that the older people don't know what they're doing. Right now, we need to be blending wisdom and innovation. And we've had so many, that device, these computers have changed things so quickly. We haven't really had time to adapt. Think email. And we're going to talk email and office communications and etiquette and texting. Those things have happened so quickly. Etiquette rules take time to, get tested and run through society until they become norms, and then we're all using them, and that's how they become etiquette, right? Making other people comfortable with how you're communicating or how you're interacting. This stuff moved so fast we didn't have, so we're now kind of trying to retrofit them on, while at the same time some people are saying, oh no, we just need to go back to the totally old ways. We got to merge all this stuff. So there are many episodes where we talk about merging the new innovations with the old wisdoms of how to do things.
Yeah. And I think there is no right or wrong way. Some people might like the old school way. Mm-hmm. And if you have a good process for like your mom with the calendar, right? The at a glance calendar, right? We did that for a really, really long time, and it worked when it was just Lauren and I. But now we have these other responsibilities. We have Allison with us. I have a daughter. Like, that doesn't work anymore. And so we had to move into something different. Mm-hmm. There is no perfect way. There are some personal preferences, but find what works for you and then embrace it. But once
don't exclude either. Don't exclude. Sometimes pen to paper is the way to go.
Yes.
And sometimes, getting your calendar, because I remember I think we talked about this in the calendar episode. You're like, no, we are paper calendar people. Yep. And now here we are 9 months later, and he's
Cozy.
Like, we got Cozy. It's a calendar in the cloud, and it's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So you just got to do what works for you, but then don't kind of flop back and forth, like pick it, go with it. And then once you start to understand this may not be meeting my needs anymore, then look for something else, then move on. Okay. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, we did. We did. Who knew that we were going to do, we were going to go into that much.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
So, final thoughts, Leslie.
Well, now that we have got 30-something episodes up, we also have episodes divided into curated courses. Mm-hmm. So if you were just interested in the household administrative stuff, we got that. If you want to know just how do I do a quick start, we've got a couple episodes that really help you with a quick start. Mm-hmm. If you're like, you know what, I really kind of like their relationship advice, but frankly, I got to-do list mastered. We got one about relationships. So you can go check out the curated courses. I think we should probably put some courses about like disaster and crazy, because imagine in the age of COVID, and now it's also hurricane season. We actually ended up with 3 or 4 episodes dealing with disasters.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so if you want to get into any specific area, we've got
you don't have to comb through 30 some odd episodes to figure out you want this topic, we got it. Some of the episodes will obviously overlap, but you can go onto the website and just click curated courses, and bam, everything that you could ever possibly want from life administration is in one cool, convenient place.
Well done.
Yeah. Yeah. See, my segues and stuff are better now, too.
Your segues are better. They're a bit cheesy. I mean, they're a bit Velveeta, but look at that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I hear that from my students a lot, that I'm cheesy, but you know what? It's who I am, baby.
There we go. And they love him and they love learning music from you. So there we go.
I can't help it. So, guys, thank you so much for being with us for the first 30 episodes. The next 30, I'm sure, are going to fly by. And
they did.
Yeah, because they do. Right. We'll be here and doing this again next year, I'm sure.
Yep.
With a whole bunch of different things.
Hopefully the kids will be at camp.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll be gone or something like that. So if you've enjoyed listening to the episode, please, if you're listening on Google Play, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, 5-star rating, leave comments in the comment section. That really, really helps us. If you're watching on YouTube, click that subscribe button, maybe the bell notification icon, get an email for when we post something. That would be kind of cool too. Also, obviously, leave comments down there. Leslie, where can people find you?
I am usually on Twitter at Leslie Loftus TX. I interact a lot there. I also run show notes, like related links and stuff, on Pinterest. And you can catch me at Leslie at lifeadministration.com.
Yes, I am at Ryan at lifeadministration.com. Also on Twitter at Ryan Taillon, RyanTaillon. Other than that, we be done.
Excellent.
So I've been Ryan Taillon.
And I have been Leslie Loftus. And somewhere around episode 15 or something, he started the I have beens. So just watch for the transition later.
I have been doing this for a little while. But you know what? They have been awesome. We'll see you in the next one.